Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Express Drives. We've got great news. Yezdi is back in town with three new motorcycles: the Roadster, the Scrambler, and the Adventure. Now, the prices start at rupees 1.98 lakh for the Roadster, rupees 2.049 lakh for the Scrambler, and rupees 2.099 lakh for the Adventure. These are ex-showroom prices. Now, all three motorcycles are powered by the same 334cc single pot engine. But if you notice, the power figures are slightly different on all three, and that's a good thing because Classic Legends tells us that the engines on all three have been tuned accordingly. As the name suggests, one of them is an adventure bike, the other is a scrambler, and the third one is a roadster. So, for example, you'd expect a flatter torque curve on, say, a scrambler than a roadster. So, to tell us more about this and the changes that have been made to the engine, we've got the CEO himself. That's right, we got in a rather very interesting conversation with the men at Classic Legends. So we've got Mr. Anupam Thareja, he is co-founder of Classic Legends, and Mr. Ashish Joshi, CEO Classic Legends, to tell us about the brand ethos at Yezdi, what to expect from Yezdi, and also, will we see the moniker Roadking on a fuel tank again soon? Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to Express Drives, and thank you very much for speaking with us. Big day for Classic Legends, I would say, and the motorcycles are looking absolutely great. So let me begin with a very simple question. Now, Classic Legends has six motorcycles in the lineup, including Java. Um, so if I'm in the market looking for a roadster, so and I have a question: should I go for a 42 or should I go for the Yezdi Roadster? How would you answer that question?
Anupam, you want to take a shot?
Yeah, sure. So, Abhilasha, firstly, I think you said now we have Yezdi, which is true. Now we have Yezdi. But frankly, for us, we always knew from day one we had three brands: Yezdi, Java, and BSA. So it is not that we first designed and planned Java, and then after it was done, we planned Yezdi and so on. It was while the launches are sequential, they were imagined together. When you are running a company, you have to imagine the product portfolio together so that they don't cannibalize each other. They sit uh, next to each other and fulfill the needs of the market in that segment, which we call the mid-market segment. So, firstly, I'm a big believer in the mid-market segment. I think that's one segment that's going to grow the fastest and the longest. The growth there will remain the longest because obviously we have a huge vehicle park of the entry segment, and when the next upgrade happens, it happens to the mid-market segment. Now, if you look at the mid-market segment, it was reasonably polarized. Either you had a very large classic player or you had sports bike. But if you look at it globally, this is probably the most the sector, the market which has got the most amount of segments in it. For Classic Legends, it was important to cater to those segments. In fact, create those segments and own that. So if you remember Java, we took out the classic end of it, which is the Java, which is our flagship brand, that connected to the past, the legacy of Java, and how Java ESD started in India. Then we pushed the envelope and we went into sports classic. That's how we launched the sports stripe, and that's 42 for you, town and country sports stripe. Then we launched the Bubba, which created a segment in itself, and we own the segment and we plan to grow it the way we are growing it. With Yezdi, which is a younger sibling, much more fun, naughty, wild, we needed to have that kind of panache brought into the market. And how do we start? We start with one first crossover bike. How do you cross over from Java to Yezdi? You cross over with a Roadster. So it is a Roadster. You can say 42 and Roadster stand next to next with each other, and there is a there will be a toss up, and lovely if there is a toss up. But look at the riding characteristic. 42 has a particular characteristic. It is a 300cc engine. It is for that understated classic rider who needs minimalist, simple bikes, pure joy and love of riding, which I'm sure you will appreciate. And if you look at the Roadster, it has got a higher CC engine. It has got more tech. It has got LED light. It's got TFT screens. It's much more detailed in terms of the Yezdi elements into it. So end of the day, they are bikes, they are brands, they are close to each other. So I keep on giving this example to a lot of people. I don't know whether you have ever watched a movie called Sholay. or
I have.
you have, or Dil Chata have probably more relevant. Uh, so, it's like the Jay and Viru. They are best of friends. They stay together, but they have
Yeah,
very different personalities. And if you get to know them, you'll say, yeah, they're best friends, they're brothers. But there is a difference in the personality. I
right.
wish we were sitting or standing in front of the motorcycles. If I make you sit on them and say, go to 0 to 80 on both, you will tell me that there is a difference. And each one is so distinct that a person will choose depending on how they feel about it or how they feel about themselves, because end of the day a motorcycle is an extension. And to my mind, Roadster does transit into the Yezdi category, but it is a crossover bike. So you're absolutely right. That's a great question. That the nice bridge between the two brands, which are there the way they should be existing.
That clarifies it rather brilliantly, actually. And I think we're looking at a very interesting video of a 42 versus Roadster. I hope that happens soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on. If you could tell our audience that yes, these will be available at the same dealerships that Java already has.
Absolutely, Abhilasha. Our dealer stood by us. We started Java. Firstly, Java, yes, they are synonymous. As I told you, they are joint at that. They will be sold through the same dealership. In fact, if you carefully look at our dealership, even the board, Java was at one corner of that gray board.
Yeah,
Anybody could have figured out we have left the space for the other brands to be put out
right.
there. Uh, two, uh, to my mind, as I said, it's a portfolio. When somebody walks in to buy a mid-segment bike, they can choose the category they want. Our dealers stood with us. We started with 100 dealers for Java. Uh, Remember when the dealer started, we had a new bike, a new brand from a new factory in a new dealership. So it was a lot of news at that time, and we were tentative. Thankfully, the country loved us, and we had a lot of bookings. We were sold out. We had over 100,000 bookings of Java. Uh, but COVID hit us, and our dealerships had to face the shutdowns in the country. There were production problems because of supply chain. There was material problems. There were logistics problems. There were semiconductor problems. So now, when we have a big brand coming back, which I think will sell much more than Java's, why would we deprive our family members called dealers of not making hay? Our service network is the same. So now we have 300 dealers, Abhilasha. So Yezdi will start with 300 dealers, same as Java, and we will make sure that the service parts and the sales ethos of both the bikes are absolutely perfect for this consumer.
Right. You just said that you've got 300 dealerships already. So, is there, based on your experience with Java and what you're expecting from Yezdi, is there a particular region in the country that you're expecting more buzz from? Is that something that's happening?
You're asking a wrong question to a wrong guy. All India, everybody, all across the country should fall in love with this. Yes, they had a particular charm because it was made in Mysore. So Bangalore boys were really keen on it. But having said that, you can't take the Delhiites away from it. All I can say is Yezdi was a younger brother. It was a younger sibling, the naughtier one, the wilder one, the one who wore his heart on the sleeve.
Yeah.
And now we are getting the meat of the market. Uh, Having said that, we can say that we are very surprised with the way, for Java at least, the Eastern markets just blossomed. Uh, uh, but I can't take away from any of the markets. I think it'll be a hit all over the country. Ashish, do you want to add anything
No,
here?
I think you said it brilliantly. So Abhilasha all over the country. And we've seen that with Java as well. The eastern side just opened up for us, and as we started opening dealers, the love affair with the motorcycle just went through the roof. And this is something that again Yezdi, because it embodies a similar spirit, if not even more youthful, more fun spirit. I think that will appeal everywhere across the country.
Right. Um, Speaking of which, whenever I visit Dehradun, I see a lot of Javas there. Just mentioning this here, I do see them a lot in that city. All right. So if I move this along, like we were just talking about the Java, and so that is the motorcycle that harks back to the Java of the yesteryear. So with Yezdi, we were expecting the Road King moniker to come back. And in the product description, you also mentioned that this is essentially the Road King series. But will we see a motorcycle with the name, that legendary name, I would say, on the tank?
Short answer, yes, it should happen. But frankly, if you look at it, Road King was a mindset, right? There was a particular kind of youth that went into it and drove it in a particular way. So this is the first series. It will culminate into a particular bike, maybe yes, and soon. So it will be a flagship. But having said that, I think it's more important, as I said, to look at the full portfolio as an approach for us. Uh, Javas were anchored with the motorcycle and the legacy of the past. The Java gave us the credibility to call 42 a Java. It then gave us credibility to call Perak a Java. Right? Whereas while we have established that Javas are now, this is what Java is, a lot of people use Java, Yezdi synonymously, right? While we had the credibility, we took the positioning of Yezdi to the rider. Right? So from a bike mindset to a biker mindset. That's how we have transitioned it. So to my mind, Road King is a state of mind. And this is the series you have. Will you see that moniker? There is a, when you have such legendary thing in your portfolios, it is always a marketing challenge which one to bring first, what to name. But these bikes just lended themselves so beautifully to a series and being called so beautifully their original generic name. So a roadster, a scrambler, an adventure. We had lovely names, by the way. Someday we will sit and talk about the various names option we had. But we are we are authentic we are motorcyclers, right? We're bikers, uh, and then we are businessmen. Then we move. So we are a startup which came back into the country saying that we need to bring the joy of motorcycling back, and non-compromise. It's not that we just increase the front mudguard and call it a scrambler, just increase the back mudguard and call it something. All these bikes, and I think Ashish can tell you in much more detail, all these bikes are ground up bikes. They are not badging exercises. So if they are called a scrambler, they scramble. They are a dirt bike which are street legal. So if
Yeah.
it's a roadster, it is a roadster. And the adventure is a true adventure. The way the engine is, the way the cradle is, the way the chassis is, the way they behave, the tech on it, the switchable ABS. So as a rider, when you take it out, the way the engine, see, every bike will go from 0 to 80, 80 to 140. But how it goes, 0 to 80, is
Right.
what defines what a real biker is looking for when he's sitting on it, right? So yes, the Road King mindset is already back. The badge, let's keep some, as I said, picture abhi baki hai. Leave something to anticipation.
All right. Looking forward to that. All right. So, coming, so like you said, 0 to 80, how it does it is the point. So let's get to the motorcycles themselves. So the three of them are powered by the same engine, but they have been tuned differently. The power figures are ever so slightly different. So if you could talk a little bit about that, explain to our audience that why have you gone for that, and is there any change in the gear ratios for the three, or is that the same?
Ashish, would you like to take that and then I'll add to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Abhilasha, what has happened is, and we started off with three grounds up products, which meant that they were purpose built in the sense that the chassis had to be different on each one of them, different ground clearances, different suspension setups. So we went that route. And then when we were working on the engine alongside, we wanted the engines to have a character that suits, say, for example, an adventure would spend a fair bit of time off road. So, what is that character? So, that character essentially is a flat torque curve, a flat power curve. The scrambler needs it to be absolutely flat because you need a lot of torque in the bottom end, a lot of grunt in through the power band as well. And that's what we did. And whilst we were doing this, we figured that look, there have to be mechanical changes on the engines and there have to be electronic changes. And when I mean electronic changes, I mean the mapping, the fuel injection maps need to be different. So we looked at the entire range of the 334. So the Perak piston is different to the piston on the Roadster, for example, and then it is again different to the pistons which are on the Scrambler and the Adventure. They've been optimized for weight, they've been optimized for profiles. And similarly, then also the camshafts. The camshaft profiles are cut differently on all these three motorcycles, because that's the way that impacts the opening closing of the valves then. So we've made those mechanical changes. On the fuel injection side, again, the tuning is completely different, and which is where, when I was showing you in the product presentation, the graphs, the power and torque curves, they were coming out differently. So it's more to suit the vehicle's riding character as you take it on road, as you go off road. And not only that, uh, if you look at the chassis, the way the Scrambler handles and the way the Adventure handles. See, the Adventure is quite a tall machine, but despite that, is very nimble across corners. And we pay specific attention to handling, ride, the quality of the suspension, as in the travel, and how much you need there. And that is where we've created all those differences, and which is why we call them grounds up. Then they're very different to one another. In fact, down to the extent that all three frames have different production line setups at the supplier's end. So they're not even made on the same line, because the lines are again specific to a particular frame then.
Yeah. Right. Are you adding anything to that, Anupam? You said.
I'm a biker. I can tell you, when we ride, uh, all these technical things will speak to my heart, and they did. When I was testing the bikes, that's how I was testing the bikes. That's what I do. Um, and if there was a problem the scrambler had to be nimble, right? It has to scramble
Yeah.
because it's also a very city bike. You need to explore wildlife in the city also, right? So yeah, I can tell you whatever he has told you is absolutely to the mark. And when you are riding the bike, and I know you do, we will talk more in detail. But as a rider, as a biker, I can tell you that these three machines serve the purpose. They are purpose built, and your heart tells you when you ride them. Your posture, your stance. For me, that's very important. How you sit on a bike, how you feel at distances on a bike. Yeah, it talks.
So I think it's the confidence that you have in each category that you've very easily been able to clarify the names, that the adventure is an adventure bike. That's why the names came out easy, I reckon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We had fun names. As I said, if I start telling those names now, it won't be fair because I still want to reserve them from some time. But one on one, we'll definitely have fun with those names. But yeah, they just asked for these honest names to be put on them.
That sounds great. All right. So Java and Yezdi, they both had a riding community. In fact, even with the really long hiatus for the brands, people who've owned these classic motorcycles, they've remained together and they've ridden together. Time to time, they come together. For Java, you've done something like that, Java community. So Yezdi is also going to be it's also going to see something like that, collective rides and stuff happening, of course, when the situation fixes. So if you can tell the audience, what are they looking forward for?
I think that's a great question, Abhilasha. Um, I must tell you that as a company sponsored ride, probably we are doing the largest amount of rides in Java today. Um, that's my KRA to my salespeople and my dealers. What do I tell them? 1 month they are closed, then COVID, then some shutdown, then semiconductor, then supply chain, then logistics. It was a very rocky year. So we actually went down and did exactly what you told us. We built a community, right? We built a tribe. We started building that tribe again. Most of our clubs are called Java ESD clubs. Java ESD Bangalore, Java ESD. So as I said, they're joint at the hip. So thankfully, we have this commonality between the two. Yezdi will just add numbers, meat, and extension to that. I'll also say that classic motorcycles don't have to have a 2022 model, 2023 model, 2024 model. How do we expand our market? How do we expand the product range? We've given you one of the most robust product range already. Next, we'll be actually working on the, let's say, rider accessories, then on the bike accessories, then on performance accessories, on
Yeah.
communities, adopting subcultures, music, sport, teaching these people how to do off-roading, how to ride in a sand environment. So that's what this company, we are not a motorcycle company. We are into motorcycling. We're a lifestyle company, right? So I actually compete with your experiences. When you say I'm going scuba diving in Maldives, I say, hold on a sec, buy a ESD and take it to a beach. This will remain with you forever. So that's how we are thinking. So communities will play a very important part. They have, in fact, I must tell them it's because of them we are here. They prove to me that this brand is still in the heart and the mind of the Indian consumer. And so vehemently they are present with lots of love. So yes, communities will be enhanced way more. Now we have two brands and of course the volumes to do that.
Yeah. Like you rightly said, that's the brand has lived in people's minds and hearts for so long. You know, my dad was really excited about Yezdi coming back because his first bike ever was the Road King. I mean, he still has it. Not with him though, but yeah, he loved motorcycles because of that Road King.
Now you made my day. Now you can get away with murder with us. So please give our regards to him. And please send us a picture of him if you have an old picture of him with Yezdi. And tell him that once it's there, we are going to send him one to sit and probably go for a spin and definitely for a picture. So thank you very much for that. And please give him our regards.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. So before we sign off, though, if I put my finger on a sore point, if you let me for a bit. So with Java, what happened? That there were a number of bookings and there were some lags there. With Yezdi, we're expecting a more streamlined process for everything. So how can the customers base be expecting things to happen differently for Yezdi?
I must say, you said a sore point very politely, so thank you for that. I think we are a textbook case of things going wrong. We launched our, but so the process we followed was we revealed or we teased the motorcycle. Then a few months later, we took the journals out for a ride for a review. Then a few months later, we gave it to the showroom for test ride and booking, and then we started the delivery. There was a long hiatus in that. And when we started our delivery, when we were ramping up, in fact, we reached 10,000 a month, suddenly COVID hit us. And then it was a series of events, as I told you, from supply chain to logistics to metal prices or commodity prices to semiconductors, so on and so forth. And we saw a lot of cancellation. We had 100,000 plus bookings and we saw 60,000 cancellations. And the cancellation average period waiting was more than 11 months. So that was unfair. Now, I can always say COVID, but frankly, I think we don't look that smart, but we are a bit smart. So we have learned from our mistakes. So this time when we are launching Yezdi on 13th, which is when you see the bikes, you can not only see the bikes as a reveal or a launch, you can go to the dealerships and see them. You can actually go for a test ride that day on 13th. You can actually book on 13th and you can get your delivery on 13th. So this time, the launch and the delivery starts on the same day, which is 13th, across our dealerships. Some may not reach because of distance and this COVID thing which is going on, but the idea is the same. I hope the bookings are so much that we still have a waiting period, which is long. But at least it's not that the delivery will start on next day. Delivery has started. Right? They can ride the bike of theirs in a test ride or their friends. So I hope the consumers will be happy that we are able to tackle, risk mitigate the challenges which the last 2.5 years threw at us, and we have learned from them.
Right. Thank you very much for that. So about the product itself, we are really, really just looking forward to getting our hands on them, to be honest. And so about the test rides, though, the I can just walk into a Java showroom starting tomorrow. No, starting today actually. We'll be publishing this tomorrow. So starting the 13th of January, and I can test ride the products.
Yes, you can. And it's a Java Yezdi showroom. We had left the space. So tomorrow morning, when you go in, or today when you go in, you will see inside that there are two different ways they are displayed. The CSI is different, and you can test the bikes. The moment you walk in, you can test the bike.
Right, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, both of you. Thank you very much, and hope to see you again. Do take care.
Thank you. You stay safe, and hope to see you soon and ride with you soon. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.